Alright, so it's now officially day 10 of the 30-day scripting challenge. We're going to be a third of the way done with the challenge, which is pretty nice, pretty nice. So for day 10, I think I said it in the previous video, it's going to be a custom zone thing where when a player is within a certain zone, they will have some sort of status effect dealt to them. So in this case, I've created 3 different parts here. One of them is a kill brick, one of them is a damaging brick, and the other one is a slowness brick. So all 3 of these bricks have can collide turned off so the player can stand inside of them. And then we've also added an attribute to all 3 of these parts, and their attribute is a string called zone type, in which case this one is kill for kill brick, this one is damage brick, and this one is slow for a slowness brick. And on top of that, all 3 of these have a tag called custom zone. And to add tags to an object, you have to go to view and then enable tag editor and then create a new tag, call it whatever you want, and then just enable this tag for all of the parts. And the reason why we're doing this is so we can use collection service to get all of the parts that have a custom zone, which will make it really easy for us to acquire all of the damage bricks. With that being said, let's get into the coding part. So in week 2, I'm going to now make a server script, and it's going to be called zone handler, just so we know. Alright, and to start, we're going to get collection service. So we're just going to say local collection service will equal to game gets service, and then collection service, and then you're going to say local zones will equal to collection service gets tagged, and then our tag, in this case I called it custom zone, and this will return a table. Now the way we're going to do this is we're going to loop through all of the different parts inside of this table, and we're going to check when the player touches that part, then administer its effect based on what type of zone it is. So to do that, we're simply just going to say for underscore part in zones do, and I'm just going to call it part because they are a part, but you can call it whatever you want, and then I'll give it a little context tag here. And we're pretty much going to say, we're going to do our attribute checks here. So we have 3 attributes, which is kill, damage, and slow. So we're going to check if part get attribute, and then we're going to put in zone type because that's the name of our attribute. Then so we know if these parts do have the attribute, we're going to now do our check. So if we're just going to say local type will equal to part get attribute zone type, and then we'll do our checks here. So to do that, we're just going to say part touched connect function, and then our touch, in this case the hit. In this case, now we're going to run our check. So the first one's going to be the kill brick. So we're just going to check if part get attribute. No, sorry, I already did that. If the type is, okay, we're just going to change the variable here to zone type because I forgot there's a default type class here. Whoops, my bad. I've like rarely used the custom type thing here, but my bad. So if we're going to change the variable to zone type. So if zone type is equal to kill, then, or actually no, we're gonna check if the hit is a player. So to do that, let's grab the player service, and I'll show you a method that you could do to grab the player. So local players is equal to game.players, and I'll show you this is a cool method you could do. So if players get player from character hit.parent, then so what this little block here is, it's going to check if the hit's parent. In this case, the hit function passed in this connect thing right here in the touched is a base part. So we're going to check if the base part's parent is the player's character, then we'll call the rest of this. And it's a really nice function we could do. Or another thing we could do is we can simply just define the player right here. So we can just say local player is going to equal to players get player from character, and then the hit.parent. And then instead of doing this, we can just say if player then, which is another simple thing right here. And then from here we can now define our things. So we'll probably also grab the humanoid as well. So local humanoid is going to equal to hit.parent find first child of class humanoid, and we're going to check if player, and humanoid, then we're going to do our little logic here. So in this case, we also are going to include death effects with the zone, the custom zone. So in this case, we're going to kill the player like insta-kill. We'll add a explosion. And to do that, we're just going to create an explosion instance. So local explosion will equal instance.new explosion. And then explosion.position will equal to player.character.primaryPart.position. And then explosion, we're going to change the blast radius. So explosion.blast radius will equal 15 studs. And then the explosion.blast pressure, which is how powerful the blast will be, we'll have it be like under 50. And that's all we need to do for the explosion. This will kill the player. And then we're just going to, once the explosion is done, we're going to kill the player. So humanoid take damage. And in fact, let me just put the thing here. Take damage, and we're just going to take 1,000 damage, right? Though you can also just do humanoid take damage, humanoid dot health. So it'll just kill it no matter what, basically. It'll deal the remaining health as damage. And that's it for the kill brick. So if you want to test it out, you can right now, but we'll wait till the end. And then debug, which I would not recommend, by the way, doing all your code and then debugging. I'm just going through this slowly so that way everything will be a bit clearer. But please don't spend 2 hours working on your code and then testing out after. Test your code as you go through it. Just saying, it's so much better than the method I'm doing. This is just for visual demonstration. Alright, that's for if the zone type is kill. Now we're going to check if the zone type is the damage. So else if the zone type is equal to damage, then, and actually, as a matter of fact, I missed a couple of things here. I'm actually so stupid. We need to parent the explosion to the workspace. So after we say explosion.parent will equal to workspace, because I didn't parent it, so it's not gonna work. And then we can technically use the take damage function, but I also remembered that you can just do humanoid dot health will equal 0. That completely zeroes out the health, so you don't have to do that. And then also this line needs to go at the bottom. It's not even 10 p.m. for me. I got home early today so I don't even know why I'm so tired. Well, anyways, just fix that. Just quick little modification. Now for damage. So this is where we're gonna get into a little bit interesting things here. We're gonna make a table. We're gonna make a table of the active players who are touching the damage brick. So that way we can keep track of who's going to take damage and who's not going to take damage. So we'll just say local damaging players is going to equal a table. And inside of this table, we're going to, actually it'll be a dictionary. We're going to assign each of these kill bricks to the amount of players who are actively touching it. So we're simply just going to check here, right? If not damaging players, and then in this case our kill brick, which will just be the part, or actually no, we're not gonna assign each part. Actually, we're just gonna put the player directly in it. So if not damaging player, in this case, if the player is just not in the table, then we're gonna run this code where we're simply just gonna make a loop. So task.spawn, and then the functions this will loop, so the code won't halt until the loop is done. It'll just passively damage them so other things can run. And I explained task.function kind of in the previous video, but I would definitely recommend looking at someone who explains things like task.delay and then task.defer. These 3 functions here, task.spawn, task.delay, and task.defer, they're some of the most helpful things that I would use. And then there's other ones too, task.wait is definitely always use it. Synchronize and desynchronize, they're for running code in parallel. And then task.cancel, I actually don't remember what this does. Oh, it just cancels the, okay, I think there's task.pause, right? Is that a thing? No, it's not. Okay, whatever. Derailing here. Right, so we're just gonna run a loop passively. That'll just damage the player every second while they're in the loop. So we could just say while damaging player, and the health is above 0, and thought health is greater than 0. I keep putting then here, but in while loops it has to be do, not then. It's just a thing I do. I don't know why. I'm trying to stop doing that. We're simply just gonna take damage, maybe 1 or 2 damage per second, maybe 5, right? We'll just say humanoid : take damage 5, and then we're just going to wait 1 second. And then yeah, it's just gonna keep damaging the player until they stop until they leave the damaging area, which I'll show you how to do that in a second here. We're just going to create a new line here. We're going to say parts.touch ended connect function, and then our hit. In this case, we're just going to copy these variables here, and we're going to check if player and humanoid, well, actually we don't need the humanoid, stupid, if player and the damaging player, then we're just going to set the damaging player to equal to no. So in short, it's just gonna check if the player who touched the part is in this damaging players thing. If they are, they're gonna remove it from the table, and that will in turn halt and pretty much stop this entire loop here. So that's that for the passive damaging thing. Now we're going to do the slow zone. So else if zone type is equal to slow, then we're just going to do the exact same thing here, but we're not looping it. So we're going to make another table. Now, if you want to, you can make one big table, and you can call it, say, like, local player control, and then inside of this table, it would be the player name here, and that would equal to another table, which would have 2 values to it, which in this case would be like damaging and then slowing, right? It would show you like what status effects they have enabled, but I'm not gonna do that, even though it's really simple to set up. You just change it from using this table to a different one. So then we'll just have a table here, a new table, which is going to be local slowing players, or slowing players, is going to equal to another table. And we're now just going to check. I'm just going to copy this. Actually, no, we're not. So if not slowing player, then we're not going to loop it. We're just going to set the player's walk speed to be like 20% slower. So humanoid dot walk speed will equal to the humanoid dot walk speed times 0.8. So it'll reduce the walk speed by 20%. And as a matter of fact here, we need to check the part type. So if zone type is equal to damage, then we'll get this and do that. And then if zone type is equal to slow, then we'll just copy this and we'll say slowing players, and then slowing players. But no, we're just going to put their walk speed back up because we took 20% off. Now we're going to add 20% back. So we will just copy this, and then we're going to put, let's also grab the humanoid here. So go ahead and copy this humanoid thing up here, and then put this right here. So multiplying it by 1.2 will add 20% to their movement speed. Multiplying it by 0.8 will take away 20% of their movement speed. And that's pretty much it for that. And there we go. So now let's go ahead and test this here. Now, also, I will like to say, to add death effects, we can just make the player explode whenever they die. So we can make a function. Oh, whoops. Let's open you. We can use the humanoid's inbuilt function to check when the player dies. So in any sort of setup here where we get the player, we can check if the player dies. So in this case, humanoid.died, and then run this explosion thing here. So I like to have like a little check at the end of this touch ended where humanoid. Oh, we get the humanoid in this one. Okay, we'll just do that right here at the end of this. We'll just say humanoid.died connect function, and then we're just going to take this explosion and put it right here. And that should work. It might not though, but alright, let's go give it a test. And let's go on ahead and touch the purple one here. And we have a error. That's right, if there's no humanoid, then it's not gonna work. We'll just move the explosion logic inside of here for now. Doesn't matter. I just want to test if the damaging stuff works. So we'll go into here, and it's not damaging me, but let's check the kill brick. Okay, so that kills me. The kill brick will explode me, but the damaging brick is not working. Let's see if the slow brick is working. and yeah, it slows me down, but it doesn't speed me back up when I exit. So let's go on ahead and fix that. Okay, I found the issue already. It's so freaking stupid. The what's it called? We're not setting this value to true when the player touches the thing. So the loop never never starts for both of them. So we need to hide the freaking thing. There we go. So we're just gonna do the same thing here for the slowing thing. So, and there we go. Now the thing will start. So stupid, bro, I swear. So now if we walk into the damaging thing, it'll start damaging me. There we go. It's damaging me. And now if I go into here, it'll slow me. Holy moly, what the heck? Okay, gotta fix that. So what we can do actually, like, fix the player's walk speed, because this is a very unsafe method, by the way, for like getting the player's walk speed, by the way. So you can just like set the indicator that the player is being slowed to actually their walk speed. So just like humanoid.walk speed, and then right here, instead of multiplying it by this, we could just say it's equal to the slowing player dot, because already the walk speed, right? And then we set this to no. So a slowing player will equal to no, and that'll go on ahead and fix it for us. And also I like a little safety mechanic there. So chill in here. Well, I have a force field on, actually. That's why it's not damaging me. But now it'll damage me because my force field is disabled. As you can see, it's damaging me now. And then if I go into here, it slows me down, and then it speeds me up when I get out. So if you want the slowdown to be more noticeable, I'll have this be, it'll cut my speed in half here. So let's go over to the slow brake, and now it'll cut my slowdown speed in half. And if I repeatedly walk into it, it won't stack the speed buff or slowness buff. And then walking into here will explode me and I will die. So that's 3 different little like modifiers that you could do for like custom zones. Like for an obby, you know, if I like hit this thing, I'll die. We don't want the player to like touch lava and then survive. And then this one could be if you're like in a poison cloud, like say like you're in an RPG game and there's a poison cloud and you're walking through it, then the player will obviously take damage in the poison cloud for every second they're inside the poison cloud. And then also for the slowness brick, you could have this be like mud, for example, where the player is like traversing through a muddy field and they have like a slowness debuff. And then you could also duplicate this and have it be a speed booster instead. So to show you how that looked, it would just be this but multiplied by 2. So then if I were to walk into it, it would speed me up while I'm inside of it. So that could be used for other things, but for this case it's a slowness thing. And then also this like code here, it can be optimized by combining the status effects into one table instead of separating it into 2 different tables. That would definitely make it a lot cleaner. And then all of this can be simplified. Oh, I'm tired, bro. Damn, 8 o'clock. So that's that, you know, 3 simple damaging zones. Now, I actually don't know any other zones. Now, I know actually, if you want, you can make like a water zone. So while the player is inside of a part, their oxygen meter will decrease, and then when it like reaches 0, they'll start taking damage until they leave the water part. That could be used for like a swimming game. But these are just the 3 simple zones that I've made so far to showcase how you can create a zone, which is just assigning an attribute to the part to tell it what type of zone it is, and then adding your logic here. It's pretty simple, and that's it for this video. I hope anyone who's watching this will learn something from it. This topic, I'd say, it gets into the use of collection service and attributes, as well as like looping and stuff. Oh, I wouldn't say it's like that complicated. It's just making different types of zones that would be a tiny bit complicated, but they're not too annoying to make. I could see a lot of them being super easy to make. And then you could also combine the slowing and the damaging break. So you could, instead of giving each of them one attribute, which is what type they are, you could add like values to each thing that would tell you what effects the part has. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I don't think I'll put this in a paste bin. It's not too complicated to understand. You can just like copy it from the video and then add whatever changes or things you want to it. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you all. That's it. I'll see you in day 11.